I've worked as a radiology tech for 6 years now, mostly night shifts. Quiet hours, fewer patients, and less chaos. But every so often, something happens that reminds you hospitals are never really empty. This happened about a year ago, during an overnight shift at a teaching hospital in Illinois. I was alone in the imaging department, which is in the basement. No windows, long hallways, lots of flickering lights, the kind of place that feels creepy even on a normal night. It was a Wednesday, and we'd had 2 late ER patients, both chest x-rays. After that, things went silent. I was sitting in the reading room eating a bag of pretzels, watching an old episode of House, when I heard the chime from the main imaging hallway. It sounded like someone entering the area. That wasn't too unusual. Sometimes nurses or doctors cut through our wing. But when I glanced at the monitor, it didn't show any motion detected. We had a cheap system installed that lights up whenever someone passes the sensors. I figured it must have glitched, so I got up to check. The hallway was completely still. The overhead fluorescents buzzed slightly, but nothing else. Then I heard it again, the sound of bare feet slapping on tile, just past CT room 2. Slow, uneven, like someone limping. Hello? I called out, expecting maybe a patient wandered in, but no response. Just the faint squeak of something wet touching the floor. I rounded the corner slowly and saw the imprint of a bare foot near the CT bay. Just one. No puddle. No trail. Just a single print pointing toward the equipment room. I grabbed my radio. Security, this is radiology. Anyone else down here?
Static. Then a voice crackled through. Negative. You're alone on sublevel 1 tonight.
I decided to double check. I opened the door to the CT control room, empty. The scanner was off, the chair pushed in, but on the monitor was a scan I hadn't taken. It was an axial head CT. File name, 0, Noid. I opened it. No data, no patient name, no history, just slices of a human head and something else. Something wrong. The skull was cracked, but not from trauma. It looked twisted as if grown that way. Then the image shifted. The slices began playing in reverse, like a flipbook of someone's skull reforming. I stared, mouth open, and then the screen went black. Suddenly, the scanner whirred to life. It turned on by itself. The internal lights activated. The gantry rotated slightly, like it was prepping for a patient. But there was no one inside. I backed out of the room and locked the door. I radioed again. Something's wrong with CT. I need someone to come down. No reply. I turned around and the hallway was dark. The lights behind me had shut off in a straight line. Click. 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 The darkness followed like a wave. I ran. I don't care how it looked. I sprinted down the hall, past MRI, past the locker room, until I hit the stairwell. The exit door was stuck. I pulled, yanked nothing. Then I heard it again. Footsteps. Slow, dragging, getting closer. Then a voice, whispering, "Do you see me now?" I turned, heart pounding. There was a figure standing just where the light stopped, barefoot, gown torn, face blurred like a corrupted photo. I slammed my fist on the emergency release bar. It finally gave way. I ran up 3 flights to the ER level, burst through the double doors, and collapsed near the triage desk. Security checked the basement. Nothing, no footprints. No activity on the badge scanners. They said the scan I mentioned didn't exist, not on any drive. But later, I checked the logs myself. The system recorded a scan at 2:11 a.m. That time matched. But it was labeled RAD, error, no image, just static. I asked around. One of the older techs finally told me, CT room 2? That was where they scanned a Jane Doe years ago. She came in unresponsive. They tried everything, but she coded in the scanner. No ID, no family. They say her face was wrong, like she'd been dead a long time. They stored the images, but the files always glitched. I switched shifts after that. No more nights. But that's not the only story. When you work as an ICU nurse on night shift, you get used to death. It becomes part of the routine, just another checkbox. But I'll never forget the night the code cart rolled itself down the hall. It was just past 3 a.m. I was reviewing charts near the medroom when I heard the rattling. At first, I thought it was a crash cart from the ER, but our unit had only one and it hadn't moved in hours. I peeked out the door. Down the hallway, under the dim emergency lights, I saw it. The code cart rolling slowly toward room 11. No one pushing it, no slope, just moving. The wheels creaked like a shopping cart in an abandoned store. As it reached room 11, it stopped completely. I walked over cautiously, touched it. It was cold, unnaturally cold. I looked into room 11. Empty. That room hadn't had a patient in 3 weeks since Mr. Yeager passed away. I checked the cart's logs. It was locked. The crash cart in our hospital is alarmed if it's opened or moved without clearance. It logs the badge. There were no entries. No one had opened it. No one had touched it. I called down to Central. They said no other unit had accessed our cart. I told Charge. She brushed it off. Probably a tech messing around. But the night nurse sitting next to me whispered, "Room 11's been acting weird all week. Lights flickering, call bells going off, staff hearing coughing from the empty room. Someone even said they found a heart monitor showing a rhythm despite no patient being there." The next night, I watched the hallway camera feed at 3 a.m. The crash cart moved again. No one in frame. Just wheels spinning. It stopped again at room 11. I checked the room after. This time, the bed was rumpled, like someone had laid in it. The call light was flashing. We unplugged the call system to reset it, but the cord had been yanked from the wall, not loose yanked. Later that night, another nurse swore she saw someone standing in the room, tall, thin, wearing a hospital gown. But when she entered, it was empty. The ward became tense. Staff started refusing to do rounds alone. Charge finally requested a room blessing from the chaplain. The chaplain arrived. As he walked toward the room, the fire alarm in room 11 went off. It was disconnected, no smoke, just the siren. The chaplain did a simple prayer. After that, things calmed down. But the crash cart was moved to the other end of the unit. A week later, during my shift, we had a code blue in room 9. I ran for the cart, but it wasn't there. It had rolled itself again right back to room 11. I grabbed it anyway. We saved the patient. But as I pushed it back, I noticed something wedged behind one of the drawers. It was an old ID badge, faded. I wiped it off. The name read, Yeager Charles, ICU, volunteer. Date 1989. I brought it to HR. They said he'd died on shift, cardiac arrest, found slumped over that very cart. No one knew why the badge would show up there. That model of crash cart didn't even exist back then. Since then, the cart sometimes ends up in front of other rooms. But it always returns to 11. Staff have stopped questioning it. Some even whisper, "Thanks, Charlie," when they use it. And it always works flawlessly, never out of stock, never fails. We don't explain it. We don't try to. But no one ever sleeps in room 11 anymore. I used to work overnight security in a hospital parking garage, the kind with 5 levels, security cameras, and a reputation for being haunted, according to the nurses. I didn't buy that. I figured most of the stories came from tired staff and bad lighting, but that changed one night in late November. Around 2:40 a.m., I was doing my standard sweep. Level 4 had a couple of abandoned staff cars. I walked past row C and saw a red sedan idling, engine on, lights off. I approached, tapped the glass. No response. The windows were tinted, but I saw the silhouette of someone in the driver's seat. "Security," I said. "You okay in there?" Nothing. I tried the door. Locked. Then, suddenly, the engine cut off. The headlights flashed once, then total silence. The interior light came on for a second, just long enough for me to see inside. The seat was empty. I stepped back, checked my surroundings, radioed the desk. Possible vehicle issue on level 4, row C. Can someone run the plates? No response. I checked my phone, no signal. Weird, but it happens on upper decks sometimes. I walked to the car again, placed my flashlight on the windshield, and that's when I saw it. A handprint. From the inside, small, like a child's, pressed hard enough to fog the glass. Then I heard the sound of keys jingling, but not mine, from under the car. I crouched, nothing there. When I stood up, the driver's door was slightly ajar. I'd swear it had been locked a second ago. I opened it fully. The car was empty. No signs of anyone. But on the dashboard was an old visitor badge. The date on it, April 3, 2006. The name Emily H. That hit me hard. I remembered the name. Emily was a teenage girl who went missing from the hospital nearly 20 years ago. Her parents said she was waiting in the parking garage after visiting hours. She was never seen again. I backed away, heart racing. Suddenly, the car's radio turned on by itself. Static, then a child's voice. "I'm still here." I slammed the door shut and ran to the stairs. As I hit level 3, all the garage lights cut out at once. Total blackness. I used my phone flashlight to navigate to the office. When I got there, the cameras were offline, all except one. The feed for row C, level 4, was still running. On the screen, the red sedan. And standing next to it, a faint white figure. Long hair, hospital gown. She stared into the camera, then slowly turned and opened the passenger door and vanished. The next day, I checked the lot. The red sedan was gone. No record of it entering or exiting, but that visitor badge? Still in my desk drawer. No matter how many times I throw it away, it comes back. I quit that job 2 weeks later, and now I never park above the second level. Ever. But last week, I got a message on our internal system, an auto-generated ping from CT Room 2. The subject line read, "New scan available." I clicked it. There was no image. Just a single message. "You see me now." I closed my laptop and walked away. But the radiologist working that shift said later that night, the scanner turned on by itself again. He thought it was just a glitch until he found a wet footprint next to the table. It's been months, and we still can't explain it. But one thing's certain. Something is using that scanner. Something that doesn't show up on the monitors until it wants to. And it's always after hours. If you work nights, you start to see the pattern. Machines that beep for no reason. Beds that warm without patience. Footsteps that never arrive. But it's the cart that gets me. Because it moves with purpose. It shows up when needed and disappears when feared. I've seen a lot in this job. Codes, deaths, miracles. But nothing like that. If you're ever on shift and the code cart rolls up to you on its own, take a breath. It means someone's watching out. Even if they've been gone for decades,